Hello and welcome to St. Andrew Institute of Technology and Management, Gurgaon. This is online lecture series. I am Rohit Raj from Civil Engineering Department. We are discussing sewage and treatment, which is included in your sixth semester syllabus. Okay, this is ninth lecture of this course, and today we'll discuss brief about chemical properties of wastewater. We already have discussed about the physical properties. Okay. Also, we have discussed about the uh, solid concentration. Okay. So we'll start with chemical properties, and there we have discussed the volatile and suspended solids. Okay. That means the solid that can get volatile. Okay, we measure them. How we gonna calculate them just by using muffle furnace and ignite them up to 550 degrees Celsius. Then we calculate the loss in weight. Okay, so there we calculate the volatile and fixed suspended solids. Okay, we also have seen the pH. Okay, we know about pH now, and what is the range for different impurities that may be present in wastewater, and what is pH. Now we also have seen the concentration of H plus, how it changes when the pH scale reading changes. Okay, or you can say what will be the pH scale reading when the H plus concentration changes. Basically, we measure pH scale with the help of H plus concentration only. Okay, but if someone provide you with this pH scale reading, then you would be able to calculate the concentration of H plus or OH minus. Okay, so now we know this. Okay, how it is affected. Now we have nitrogen content. Okay, what is that? The presence of nitrogen in seaways is an indication of the presence of organic matter. We have seen this in the previous class also, that nitrogen, if present, nitrogen is present there, then that indicates that there is organic matters. Okay, and we are talking about seaways, that is wastewater. Okay, now nitrogen may be available there in four forms. That is, first form is free ammonia, that is ammonia nitrogen. Second is albuminide, that is organic nitrogen. Okay, albuminoid, that is organic nitrogen. Third one is nitrate, and fourth one is nitrite. Okay, here it is written, for third one is nitrites and fourth one is nitrates. We'll discuss now. Free ammonia indicates the very first stage of decomposition. If uh, free ammonia is there, then it indicates very first stage of decomposition of organic matter, thus indicating recent pollution. Means if nitrogen is in free state, that indicates that this decomposition is in its first stage, and that also tells that the sewage water or the wastewater is fresh. Okay, we also have idea that how the color changes. For a fresh water it is brown, and for uh, septed water, that is water stored for much time, that is black. Okay, nitrates indicates the presence of fully oxidized organic matter. Okay, but second, the organic nitrogen indicates the quantity of nitrogen in sewage before the decomposition of organic matter. Okay, now we have three phases, that is of first one is free ammonia, that indicates that recent pollution. Okay, means water is fresh. Second indicates that is organic nitrogen, indicates sewage before the decomposition of organic matter. Okay, means just before the decomposition of organic matter, there will be organic nitrogen. And third indicates that is nitrates, presence of fully oxidized organic matter in sewage. Okay, we have three stages. First is free nitrogen, only when the sewage is fresh. Okay, means newly discharged wastewater. Now, second one, that is albuminoid, or that is organic nitrogen. It resembles, or it gives a sign of uh, sewage before the decomposition of organic matter. Now, third one, nitrates indicate the presence of fully oxidized. You might have wondering that you left with the nitrites. We'll discuss them. Okay, basically nitrites are too dangerous if they are present. Okay, in sewage they can be present in their forms. Okay, so we'll discuss this. First, let's try to remember that what form of nitrogen indicates which situation of decomposition. Means first, that is free ammonia, that represents that recent pollution. Second one is organic nitrogen, represents just before decomposition. Okay. Third, nitrates indicates the fully oxidized organic matters. Okay. Now, nitrites thus indicate the intermediate stage of conversion of organic matters of sewage into stable form, indicating the progress of treatment. And presence of nitrite indicates the intermediate stage, means it is formed only in the intermediate stage of conversion. Their presence shows that treatment given to a sewage is incomplete and sewage is stale, whereas the presence of nitrates indicates well oxidized and treated sewage. Okay, you might have heard, or you might be aware of this fact that when CO is formed and when what is the situation when COT is formed. So you have idea, or whether you have not, but you just know this thing that CO is only formed mostly due to incomplete burning. Okay, whenever there is incomplete burning, there they form CO. Okay, that is carbon monoxide. If there is complete burning, then there will be production of CO2. Okay, similarly here also, if there is incomplete treatment, then there will be nitrite. Otherwise, if that is fully oxidized wastewater, then there would be nitrates. You just keep this in mind, the nitrates and nitrites. Okay, we already know free ammonia, it is for recent pollution or fresh sewage water. Then organic ammonia just before the decomposition of organic matter. And when it is fully decomposed or oxidized, then it is nitrates. And when it is partially decomposed, okay, and the sewage is stale, okay, there it forms nitrites. Okay, now organic nitrogen can be measured by adding strong alkaline solution of KMNO4. How will measure organic nitrogen? We just can measure with the help of strong alkaline solution of KMNO4, that is potassium permanganate. Okay, to already boil water sample and again boiling the same. Okay, if we add strong alkaline solution to a boiled water, okay, and then again we'll boil them, the ammonia gas thus liberated is measured with the quantity of organic nitrogen. The sum total of ammonia nitrogen is called Kedrihal nitrogen. Okay, we have experiment in our laboratory. You might have done this in your first semester or second semester chemistry, basic chemistry in engineering curriculum. Okay, there we use Kedrihal nitrogen experiment. Okay, how do we measure them? We measure ammonia nitrogen, and that is called Kedrihal nitrogen. Okay. Nitrites are dangerous, but as oxidation of nitrites to nitrates is very fast, it is generally not found in water bodies. Now, as I have given you example of carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, you are well aware that carbon monoxide is quite dangerous. Okay, if we breathe them, then we have many problems of respiratory systems. Okay, so similarly, and carbon monoxide is formed only due to incomplete burning. Okay, here also due to incomplete treatment of water, the production of nitrites arises or in that phase of oxidation. Okay, but it is very fast process. Okay, it leads it is generally very fast, so they get oxidized into nitrates into the water bodies. So generally we don't find nitrites. Okay, and if it is found, then it is dangerous. Now, as nitrates represent fully oxidized matter, its presence in sewage is not dangerous. Okay, now we are aware of this, that as nitrates are fully oxidized matter present in sewage, their presence would not be dangerous. Okay, so uh, if sewage contains higher nitrates and if it is disposed in water body, then nitrates contents in the water body would increase. Higher quantity of nitrate adversely affects the health of infants, causing a disease called methemoglobia. Okay, that is commonly known as blue baby disease. That is methemoglobemia. Okay, methemoglobemia. This is also called as commonly blue baby. Why it is occurring? Why it happens? Due to the excess concentration of nitrates in water. Okay, higher quantity of nitrates adversely affect the infants, causing a disease, methemoglobemia. Okay, also called as blue baby. And what are its symptoms? That is vomits, skin color become dark, and maybe the person may die in extreme cases. Okay, so nitrites and nitrates are measured by color matching techniques. We have process of measurement of nitrites and nitrates, that is color matching technique. Okay, now we are aware with how the nitrates forms, how the nitrites forms, and how the nitrates can affect human. Okay, if there is excess discharge of highly concentrated nitrates in water, then that may lead to a disease that happens generally to the babies or childs, infants, that is called blue baby disease. What happens in that disease? They may vomit. Okay, their skin color may be dark, and they can die in extreme cases. And we have process of measurement of concentration of nitrites and nitrates as color matching techniques. This is example of methemoglobemia case, that is blue baby. Now we have nitrogen compounds. Okay, ammonia, that is NH3, nitrite, that is NO2, and that is only produced when there is incomplete decomposition. Otherwise, it will form nitrate. Okay, that is NO3 minus. Okay, and all of them liberate nitrogen gas, that is NO2. Okay, uh, what is nitrification and what is denitrification? Okay, so when nitrate gets added, okay, that is nitrification. And if nitrogen gas, suppose we add something to nitrogen to somewhere, then it is nitrification. And when nitrogen gas is released, that is denitrification. Here you can see with the diagram also what is denitrification: when nitrite and ammonia releases nitrogen gas. Similarly, when ammonia, nitrite and nitrate settles down, that is nitrification, means we have reverse process. Okay, now we'll start chloride contents. Okay, chlorine is, if you can recall your water supply system, there we treat water, and our last part is disinfection. Okay, disinfecting includes addition of chlorines, okay, in the water sample. Okay, so chloride contents are really important. Okay, so now let's understand this. Chlorides are generally found in sewage and are derived from kitchen waste, human feces, urinary discharges. Okay, where from where these chloride contents can arise in waste, that is from kitchen waste, human feces, and urinary discharges. The normal chloride contents of sewage is 120 milligram per liter. Okay, whereas the permissible limit is 250 milligram per liter. You need to remember them. Okay, you just try to remember these limits, as it is essential for any water sample. Okay, whether it is a wastewater that need to be discharged into drainage system or rivers, or for water supply system also, that water may be discharged for the drinking water. Okay, we need to know the limits, that constituent or concentration of the impurities or particles present. However, large amount of chlorides may enter from industries like ice cream plants, meat salting, etc. Okay, if the discharge is industrial water and the industries of ice cream plant or meat salting, their chloride content may be higher. Hence, the chloride content of a given sewage is found to be high. Okay, it indicates the presence of industrial waste or infiltration of seawater. Okay, thereby indicating the strength of sewage. Okay, so this chances of higher chloride content arises only when if there is industrial wastewater discharge or infiltration of seawater, mean mixing of seawater. It can be determined by titration of the wastewater with standard silver nitrate solution using potassium chromate as indicator. Just keep this in mind. You have to perform this in your laboratory. How we can calculate the chloride content? Okay, how we'll calculate this? We'll calculate using standard silver nitrate solution, AgNO3, and using potassium chromate. Okay, potassium chromate as indicator. Okay, so this is chloride. Okay, now another chemical uh, property indicates presence of fats, oils, or greases. Okay, fat, oil, and greases are derived in sewage from discharge of animal and vegetable matters, or from garage, kitchen, hotel, and restaurant. Okay, the presence of fats and oils may arise from discharge of animals or vegetable matters, or from garage or kitchens or restaurant. Okay, such matters forms come on the top of sedimentation tank. What will happen? There would be formation of scum, okay, on the top of tanks. Clogs the voids of filter media and affects the diffusion of oxygen. And what this could lead? This can cause the This can cut the connection of water with the atmosphere that could affect the diffusion of oxygen, thus uh, interfere with the normal treatment methods, and hence these detections and removal is important. Okay, why this is important? Because it affects the diffusion of oxygen and thereby it interfere with the normal treatment methods. Okay, it affects the normal treatment methods by affecting the diffusion of oxygen, as it forms a layer that is scum layer on the top of sedimentation tanks, and that clogs the voids of filter media. Okay, oils and greases are soluble in either. Okay, hence for their determination a sample of sewage is first of all evaporated and leaving behind the oil and grease as a residue, which then weighted. Okay, I will calculate the oil and fats concentration. Will calculate the concentration of oil and fat using evaporation technique. We will first allow to evaporate all the water, and then they will leave behind with the oil and grease. Okay, here you can see this scum layer, okay, above the surface, and this could clear this could cut the supply of oxygen. Okay, that we have studied that it affects the diffusion of oxygen. Clearly you can see that this affects the diffusion of oxygen. Okay, now other toxic materials, that is copper, lead, silver, chromium, arsenic, phenols, boron, cyanides, are some of the toxic compounds affecting the microorganisms, resulting in malfunctioning from industrial waste. These wastes generally arises from industrial wastewater. Okay, like copper, lead, silver, chromium, arsenic, phenols, borons, and cyanides. So you just keep them in mind that industrial wastewater may contain them. Okay, and they can affect the microorganisms, and then if microorganisms are affected, then it whole will be affected. That treatment of industrial wastewater. Okay, this is toxic wastewater that is discharged from industrial waste. Okay, now we'll start with sulfides, sulfates, and hydrogen gas. Okay, then we'll come to dissolved oxygen. Okay, and this is the most important part for the chemical parameters. Okay, then after we'll study biological, and there we'll study BOD and COD. Okay, so let's start with sulfides. Sulfides and sulfates are formed due to the decomposition of various sulfur containing substances in sewage. Means if there is substance that contains sulfur, then after decomposition sulfides and sulfates will be formed, and this decomposition also leads to the evolution of H2S. And now we already know that H2S is formed in major concentration when the reaction is anaerobic, and this leads to foul smell or bad odor. Okay, okay, causing bad odors. Beside causing corrosion of concrete sewer pipes. In aerobic digestion of sewage, the aerobic and facultative bacteria oxidizes the sulfur and its compound present in sewage. Okay, we have studied earlier that in anaerobic bacteria decompose and they liberate H2S. But in aerobic digestion of sewage, the who will do this aerobic digestion, that is aerobic or facultative bacteria, oxidizes sulfur into its compounds. Okay, that is present in sewage. Initially from sulfides. Okay, they will form initially sulfides, which ultimately break down to form sulfate. Okay, so this process will be sulfur compounds will first be converted by aerobic or facultative bacteria in aerobic digestion into sulfides at initial stage, and then they will be broken down into sulfate ions, which is stable and unobjectionable end product. And what do you mean by unobjectionable end product? That is not harmful to the humans or to the aquatic lives, that is flora and fauna. Okay, so how sulfides and sulfates are formed, you can just remember them that whenever there is impurities of sulfur in wastewater, then their decomposition forms sulfides initially, and who form them, that they are aerobic or facultative bacteria. They oxidize sulfur into sulfides initially, and ultimately they break down them into sulfate ions, which is stable and unobjectionable end product. In anaerobic digestion of sewage, okay, now in anaerobic, in absence of oxygen, the anaerobic and facultative bacteria, again now which bacteria will do this, that is anaerobic or facultative bacteria, reduces the sulfur and its compound into sulfides. Okay, they reduces the sulfur and its compound into sulfides with the evolution of H2 gas along with methane and carbon dioxide. Okay, thus causing an obnoxious odor, that is bad odor. Okay, so you now have idea about whether it is sulfides or whether it is sulfates in case of aerobic digestion. That is initially they form sulfides and then they oxidize into sulfate ion, which is unobjectionable. And in case of anaerobic, they form sulfides with the evolution of H2S, that is obnoxious. Okay, means bad odors. Okay, so now we have idea about sulfides and sulfates and hydrogen gas. Okay, we'll continue with dissolved oxygen in the coming lectures. Okay, till then, thank you for listening. Feel free to ask any doubt. You can just contact to this number, or you can text, WhatsApp, or feel free to mail using this mail ID. Thank you.